Yeah. Oops. What is up? And welcome to Big Kid with Will Bryant. I'm your host. I'm Will Bryant. And I hit my mic within the first 30 seconds of this podcast. Good start, Will. Good start. Coming in hot, coming in strong. I'm slaying. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Let me fix my mic now. And we're back like a pro. I don't let shit like that bother me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't. Me? I'm the most ready for everything. Pressure. You know how they say pressure makes diamonds? Is that what they say? I was about to say pressure makes rocks. That's not what it is. Pressure makes diamonds? Bro, I am a... Diamonds are forever. Throw your diamonds in the sky and wave them side to side. I think I just combined two different hip-hop songs there. But that's me, dude. I'm drinking Michelob Ultra today, and they might as well call it Michelob Ultra. I mean, oh God, Will, you are killing it. Oh my Jesus, Lord and Savior. What I meant to say is I'm drinking Michelob Ultra, and they might as well call it Michelob Water. I'm drinking old Michelob, and they might as well call it Michelob. Oh, God. Damn it. It's 2.5 minutes in. 2.5 minutes. I've hit my mic. I've said something stupid and idiotic. The only thing I got right was my name so far. Oh my God. You know what it is? I blame this. Chum Chudum. I will now never get sponsored by Chum Chudum. One of the types of alcohol that have been left over at my place through the many times we've hosted, me and my degenerate friends. One night, a couple of nights, we had a Korean barbecue night, and this is definitely from one of those nights. Someone left behind a bottle of sake. I am out of tequila. I am out of whiskey. I don't really partake in vodka, and I'm not much of a gin guy either. And we have both of those downstairs. But this and I also have Aperol and Lillet Blanc, and triple sec. None of those make good shooters. I remember my boy Noodle from the Diddy. He used to call them shooters. I never heard that before, and I liked it. Shooters, shots. By the way, if in case you didn't know what I meant, shooters is shots. Down for a couple of shooters. Somehow makes it sound a little bit nicer than shots. Shots has that connotation already, because you know that song shot. That did not help the shots at all. I mean, it did, because a lot of people would do them, but also that like perpetuated the get fucked up aspect of shots. I guess that's always been the aspect of shots, is to get fucked up, huh? I used to not do shots. I used to say I would only do shots if I had to. I know what you're thinking. Well, when would you have to do a shot? Aside from when you're held hostage by people that for some reason make you want to drink. The two times normally that I would have to do a shot. Excuse me. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. No, it went away. I'm on the verge of a cold. Shocker, I know. My girl's cold has a cold, and I'm just fucking fighting it off. I just took nasal spray right before the show. It's supposed to be no drip, I'm supposed to be dripless right now. But if you can hear me, I'm sniffing like I just did a line of blow. I did not. I did a couple of pumps of Afrin. That's how dope I am. As I drink my Michelob Ultra water. And soju. Jesus, what am I doing today, Will? Oh. So, what was I talking about? Drinking soju, Michelob, battling a cold, fighting off a cold. Oh yeah, they left behind the soju. I had nothing else to drink. This is what I'm doing, and I feel like that's probably why I'm a little off right now. Kind of like very off. I'm sure I'll listen back to this. Actually, I don't even listen back to my episodes anymore. I downloaded this AI app, and I just let that, like, listen to my episodes for me, and it tells me, make this into a video. And I'm like, all right, if you say so. I will do it just because you told me to. I'm talking right now, but my computer is, like, trying to fight me right now. Ah. Give me 1 second, guys. If I can open up my Pro Tools. I hope I'm still recording. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I am recording. Yeah, no, this is the best podcast ever. I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. I'm slaying. This is why other people more successful than I, when they record, have another person in another room paying attention to all this shit to make sure that everything goes right. I would love it if I could just walk into a room. I mean, I guess I could rent time, but I mean, no. If you could just walk into a room and just sit in front of a mic and talk for an hour and then walk out and then do nothing else, and your podcast is out every week. And furthermore, then there's like clips of it on social media. Man, this is all me. I set this up myself. I record myself. I'm literally watching my Pro Tools as I record, hoping nothing goes wrong. The soju is a weird... There's something about soju because it tastes almost like nothing, but then there's like a hint of something that makes you go, what is that? And I always feel a little gaggy on soju, even though like I shouldn't. Oh, so now I remember what I was talking about. Ha! Oh, I got there. That I used to not take shots. When do you have to take shots? I bet you guys listening at home were like, you got it. You got it. Yay. All is good. If someone buys you a shot and like it's presented in front of you and you turn it down, that's a little... Come on. It's a little lame. Come on. And if it's someone's birthday and everyone's doing a round of shots in honor of the person's birthday and you don't do one, come on. It's a little lame. Come on. That's my advice. So back in the day when I didn't like alcohol. I didn't like hard alcohol. Now I love it. But yeah, I didn't like it back then. Hated taking shots. Would only do it when I had to. Now I'm like, damn it, no tequila, no whiskey. What do we have left? Fucking soju it is, because I definitely don't want to do shots of gin or vodka. And what's the point of doing shots of Aperol or Triple Sec or Lillet Blanc? Actually, my girl does shots of Lillet Blanc when she doesn't want to take a real shot. So, I guess I'm drinking Michelob Ultra. You know what? I don't know why I went with it. I felt like I wanted to feel not bloated. You know, like sometimes when I did Beck's last week, and that was, I felt like I was plodding around for a while. Fuck it. Let's do the drink with 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. Why not? Ah, I've had a I've had a solid week at the work. Has been busy. I've had some late nights at the cafe, actually, more so the cellar. When you work, I either work in the cafe upstairs, the Olive Tree Cafe, or in the Comedy Cellar. The cafe and the cellar are connected. The cellar's right below the Olive Tree Cafe. Same staff, same kitchen, same everything, basically. Like anyone that works in the Comedy Cellar works in the Olive Tree Cafe. And the Olive Tree Cafe is has its own little reputation in it of itself. It's been there for a long time, kind of a staple as well. We're real old school vibe when you go in there. So that's where all the comedians hang out. With the cellar doesn't have like a green room or anything like that. So all the comedians hang out at the Olive Tree Cafe. Before their sets, we have a TV that live streams the with no sound, but it live streams the stages, all four of our stages. So comedians can see who's up, so that they know roughly when they're up, or when they have to start making moves. So point being, when you work in a cafe, there's a specific area, like these two tables that are reserved for just the comedians. No one else can sit there unless you're a comedian at the cellar, or a guest of a comedian. Even then, it's kind of frowned upon. So when you bartend at the Olive Tree Cafe, as opposed to, because I bartend at both. You have to bartend at both. So I have shifts downstairs in the cellar during the shows, but sometimes I have shifts upstairs in the cafe. And the cool thing about working in the cafe is that you get to, see the comedians just hanging out in, probably what most of them would consider one of, if not their favorite atmosphere. Just being in a room with a bunch of other comedians. I've always heard a comedian talk about, like, when he's in some party where he feels uncomfortable. The moment he sees, like, he could be in a party full of a bunch of actors and singers and business people, and the moment that he sees another comedian in the room, they both just like gravitate towards each other and start feeling better. So I've got to believe that most comedians just love being around other comedians. And I get it. It's like there aren't that many people that you meet in other aspects of your life that you can talk to and vibe with on those unique levels. If you meet someone or you're talking to someone that has a regular job, you're not going to have in-depth conversations about the inner workings of how to deal with the crowd in Nashville versus a crowd in Chicago. Someone that does accounting or IT has no idea what the fuck you're talking about or how to relate to that even, It's like that in anything, man. If you're a musician and you meet another musician, if you're a nurse and meet another nurse, I'd imagine similar things. You start talking about similar shit. People with similar goals or drives or passions, So they're all in a room with each other doing that. And some of my favorite moments at work are working at the cafe and just silently sitting back and watching and listening to some of these greats just kind of talk shit, podcasting has become so popular nowadays. I feel like on a nightly basis when I work at the cafe, I'm like listening to exclusive podcasts that are just not recorded and will never be put out anywhere, you know. I look at those Olive Tree Cafe shifts like I'm kind of sitting under a learning tree as I'm cranking out these drinks. And yeah, and I get some face to face time with the comedians. You know, that's when you start getting to know some of them. Um, Learning what they like. I kind of, if anything, I know comedians more by their drink than I don't know, their personality right now. For the most part, I will say, like, I know I've always said, like, oh, this podcast isn't going to be me talking about like what happens at work and whatnot, and this isn't me breaking that. I'm not talking about specific conversations. I'm not going to talk about, you know, anything that would violate some type of trust there. But to say that working at the cafe is cool because there's just a bunch of comedians around all the time talking shop, you know, that's, I'm reminded of how cool that is often when customers come and they sit at the bar, because our bar is small. Our bar is like 5-6 seats total. It's a cafe. It's not really a bar, but we have a bar area. So I'll only have a handful of people sitting in my area. I'm more of like almost a service bartender even in the cafe. And when people sit down and they see, you know, Colin Quinn walk in, who's there like 4 or 5 nights a week. They see Jim Norton walk in, same deal. Um, they'll see, you know, someone like a Tom Papa or you know, newer guys like Shane Gillis and Andrew Schultz and Ari Shafir. Ari's not that new, but new people that are hitting new heights now. Um, they have this look where like they turn around and they turn back to me in like a controlled excitement, like holy shit, that's Colin Quinn, you know. And then I'm like, yeah, that's. And then I'll be like, Colin will be walking up to the bar, and I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, Colin?" And I know that he loves drinking a Diet Coke, so I always have it ready for him, or I have it ready for whoever is the server in charge of comics that day. But when I first started, I remember seeing these comedians walk in for the first time, and I had this internal moment, you know, where I was like, "Holy shit, that's Jim Norton, that's Colin Quinn, that's Dave Attell." Um, and I whenever I see a customer act like that, it's just this really cool moment where now for me I work somewhere where that shit is fucking normal to me. Like I know them by name, you know, like I know what they prefer to drink. Um, I eat the candy that Dave Attell buys us on a weekly basis because that's just what nice of a guy. He literally buys us bags of candy and drops it off at the cafe in the cellar, and the staff has candy like for like an entire week. That's just because he's nice. Like the fact that I can say like I've got to stop eating Dave Attell candy because I'm starting to feel a little pudgy is a sentence I never thought I was going to say 7 months ago. Dave Attell is making me fat. That I I still think it's kind of cool that I could even say a sentence like that. So I enjoy some of these cafe shifts where like I see I often get um the clientele looking at me and saying like, man, this is a really cool place to work, and I'm thankfully I am not, you know, jaded by that job at all. Maybe I should say yet. Who knows? Um, it hasn't, you know, beaten me down. I'm still very excited and kind of appreciative of where I am. it's tough, dude. It's a tough job, and it's we definitely get our butts handed to us from time to time. Um, and I don't know if I've ever been like more. I don't know if nervous is the right word, but just more. I've never had more anxiety about not wanting to fuck up than this job, and it's probably because it's the job that has meant the most to me thus far. But there those moments in the cafe. Those are sometimes some of the coolest moments. Uh, a great example of that happened just last Tuesday. Today's the 24th October. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. Last Tuesday, so whatever that was. Let's see. Fucking 7 days ago. You do the math. It was a little bit of a special night at the cafe, which I had no idea about. I wasn't prepared for, but it didn't matter. One of the comedians there, that is at the cellar often, is his name is Jared Freed. He had his debut at the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon that Tuesday, and they record that show earlier on in the day. So they recorded it, I think, around 2 or 4, something like that. They recorded early, and then they edit it or whatever, and it's ready to go by 11:30 at night. That's the way they used to do it when it was Jay Leno, and the way they did it afterwards for Jimmy Fallon. David Letterman's the same way. Jimmy Kimmel's the same way. Even though I remember I was bugged out by that. It's called Jimmy Kimmel Live, and by the way, not live. There's a saying called live to tape, which means it was live when it was like being recorded. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Everything is live to tape. Unless they mean like they don't edit anything at all. But I mean, I highly doubt that Jimmy Kimmel isn't edited at all. Anyways. Point being, they filmed the Tonight Show during the afternoon. So Jared Freed filmed. He was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He recorded it, and then he came to the cellar because he had spots to do at the cellar. He's still grinding, still doing his work. He has a special out on Netflix called 37 and Single, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely check that out. I'm gonna check it out soon. I've laughed at his shit all the time when I hear it. When I'm working down in the cellar and I hear his bits. Very funny stuff, very relatable stuff. A lot of stuff about family. I mean. Basically, if you have family, you'll be able to relate to this guy's comedy. So it's pretty much for everybody. He was at the cafe when the Jimmy Fallon show started, and my boss basically told me to turn off the music. We have a projector that all day, every day in the cafe, this projector just plays Charlie Chaplin movies. All day, Charlie Chaplin, just silent Charlie Chaplin on the screen. I'm telling you, this cafe is old school. But on this day, last Tuesday, we put on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and I put the audio on to blast throughout the Olive Tree Cafe. That shit sounded like the Super Bowl. That's how loud that shit was. And we all the comedians were just like sitting around the comedians table, and we not just his set. We put on the entire Tonight Show, like from beginning to end for that hour. So it was like, who were the guests? I know Paris Hilton was a guest. I forgot who else was the first guest. Someone else was a guest before her. And Jared Freed, the comedian, was at the end of the night. And we all, the entire cafe, comedians and regular patrons, like everyone was, whoever was not, like people were confused that weren't comedians. They were looking around. I remember people at the bar like, what's going on? And I pointed out, and I would tell people, I was like, well, it's a special night tonight because one of our own comedians, Jared, who's actually sitting right behind you, he's debuting. It's his first time ever on the Tonight Show, so it's kind of a big deal. And everyone that heard that suddenly realized, like, wow, this is actually really fucking cool. Like, they're in a room with somebody who's watching himself for the first time on the Tonight Show. It's a big deal, you know? And it was really cool to see all the other comedians just being so supportive of him and of that moment. It definitely, I think everyone in that room could see that felt like a really cool moment for him as a comedian, as a person, you know? Just to be in a room where everyone is just like laughing and clapping and just happy to see you on TV. Yeah, it was really dope. And I'm telling you, that was like one of the busier. It was a regular Tuesday night. I thought I was gonna have a nice, quiet Tuesday, be out, you know, maybe a little bit early, and that did not happen. Let's just say that. It was it was like one of those nights where somehow it felt busier upstairs in the cafe than the cellar downstairs. I would go downstairs in the cellar to like get some ice, because that's where the ice machine is, and I'm like, wow, it's like chill down here. Yeah, that was dope. Last night was pretty cool too. Last night, every Monday night the Off G Cafe has Music Mondays, and we have a live band that plays music from like 9 to midnight, and they're actually fucking like awesome, dude. Like I'm not even just, this isn't hyperbole. I'm not saying that. It's a bunch of guitarists and saxophone players, and I think there's a trumpet player, and they have a percussionist, and a bunch of singers, and they're all just fucking like so impressed. Like I want some of my friends to come through on a Music Monday if I'm working, to just like enjoy it. I'm working like a maniac. That's actually some of my tougher shifts, because the cafe is usually packed out for Music Mondays. So I'm busy like a motherfucker. There's just one bartender making the drinks for the whole cafe. But it's actually a lot of fun. And yesterday was, I had never seen Nate Bargatze at the Cellar, but he's one of my, I would probably say he's one of my newer favorite comedians. I showed Val, me and her watched, I think at least 2 of his stand-ups together. Tennessee Kid was one of them, and we just love how he's just so funny and nonchalant and chill. And I didn't even realize it until like I read about him after watching the stand-up, that like they're like, oh, he does like clean style comedy, you know, he's not like vulgar or whatever, which I don't really care about. I'm fine with vulgar shit. I'm fine with clean shit. But I was like, oh yeah, he was clean, you know. But it doesn't really, like that's not his gimmick at all, you know. He's just so, and it's funny because in real life he was basically exactly the same. He's just very chill, very calm, very cool. He was in town because he dropped by because he's doing SNL this weekend. So that's how big he is. He's about to host SNL, and the musical guest is the Foo Fighters. So it's cool now that SNL is back. SNL, the season debut or season premiere was last week, and it was Pete Davidson hosting with who was the musical guest? I forget. Either way, Pete Davidson dropped by the Cellar the week prior. Super nice, by the way. Super big sweetheart. Let's just say that. He did a little surprise guest spot downstairs. And then this week, same thing. Nate Bargatze was hosting. He drops by at the Cellar, does a surprise guest spot downstairs. So, you know, I haven't worked at the Cellar during SNL, you know. I have seen Michael Shea drop by. There are some people that drop by that are part of the Cellar crew. Some of the comedians that are writers or former writers of SNL. But I'm starting now to see that maybe we'll see more of these hosts maybe drop on by if they're in the comedy world, you know. That was cool. Um, and then the for me, I'm having a pretty solid week. I've had a busy week. Work's been busy, but that's good. That's always good. But I'm having a solid week mostly because of one thing. I'm gonna crack open another ultra water. And you know what? I don't think I've done one of these on air. I did one before. The chum churum soju. Let's pour it out. Great. I didn't mean to throw that on the floor. So, cheers. Thank you. I think this might have been Chanel. So thank you, Chanel, for the soju. As some of you may know or remember, back in May, I said out loud for the first time on this very podcast that I had intentions, that I wanted to get on stage and try throw my hat into the comedy world. I wanted to try to do at least 5 minutes on stage somewhere. And I said that I wanted to do it by the end of the year. And at that time, I was working at the Horny Ram, and I was very just unhappy there. I knew it was a transitional job for me, and I guess that's never really a super positive place to be mentally. But a month after I said that out loud on this podcast, a month after I put it out into the world that I wanted to try my hand at comedy, I end up landing a job at the Comedy Cellar. That's something. I don't know what, but that's something, right? I don't know if I believe in shit like fate. Destiny. I don't know. I think I used to believe in shit like that, but I think I've had my ass kicked a little too much throughout my lifetime now to really truly believe in that anymore. But maybe I believe in signs. I don't know. If I don't believe in that, it doesn't mean I don't believe in anything. I believe in something. I don't really know what it is. And I'm not talking about religious shit here. I'm just talking about moments in your life that you feel maybe happened for a reason. In May, I put it out into the world that I want to try to be a comedian, and by June, I land a job at the Comedy Cellar. Maybe that happened for a reason. Once I started working at the Cellar, I had heard about this. There's actually classes that are, kind of associated with the Cellar. Now, the Cellar itself doesn't teach a comedy class, but there are 2 seasoned pros and veterans that teach comedy at the Comedy Cellar and kind of like run it themselves. Both come very like highly recommended by other. I mean, put it this way: the Comedy Cellar would not allow someone to teach comedy at their venues if they were not, just good or not recommended, but if they weren't legitimate, if they weren't talented, if they weren't beloved by their peers. So there are 2 people that teach classes, and One of those people is this gentleman named Rick Chrome, who's been in the business for, he's like just one of these veterans that's, he's an older gentleman now, older man now, that just walks around still grinding, still living the life of a, of just not just a comedian, but an entertainer overall, because he does a lot of acting. He's been in things like, he's been in Louis, he's been in House of Cards, he's been in Ray Donovan, he's been on the Amy Schumer show, he's been on in a bunch of movies in as like random parts. He was on Broadway for 3 years in that hit musical Urinetown back in the day. He's actually he just landed another Broadway gig in, I believe they're turning a Sarah Silverman book into a Broadway show, and he's going to be on that coming up next year. He works at the Cellar. He used to be a host at the Cellar. Now he's like the voice that you hear announce the beginning of every show. Yeah, I don't know. He's just, whenever he comes in, he's just the nicest, just, sweetest guy who's kind of willing to talk to anybody that's willing to listen and seems interested. He's always kind of just willing to embark knowledge on somebody. It doesn't take a lot to get him out of it. They'll get it out of him. And his classes, he does like a couple of courses per year. They're usually 5 weeks, about 6 weeks long, and he only takes 10 people per class, and he might have like one or two classes per like, I guess, semester, as he calls it. So it's pretty limited. Same thing for the other teacher, the other comedy professor. And I remember when I first got hired at the Cellar and I first learned about this, that he's one of the teachers, I was like, oh, maybe I'll take this class and that'll help me in, my journey to my journey in comedy. Because I'm the type of guy that, like, if I want to do something, I don't really just jump into it, into the deep end and hope that I can swim. I kind of like going into it with a little bit more of knowledge and an idea of what I'm doing. Like, for example, when I first wanted to get into music and I wanted to DJ, I bought a bunch of gear, but I bought it while I went back to school for music. I literally went back to college to learn music production and learn a little bit about audio engineering. And I did that so that I could be better at DJing, or to learn how to, like, just to learn. I knew nothing about music, really. Music theory, time, wavelengths and all that. I knew nothing, especially about recording. I mean, dude, this right now, what I'm doing, I knew I wanted to try to record a podcast at one point. What I'm doing right now, recording this, using Pro Tools to do it, editing it, mastering the sound. I learned it in college. I went back to school for it. I didn't just, there's plenty of people that have a podcast of their own that just fucking YouTubed it and downloaded some free software and are up and running and are way more successful than anything I've ever done. But I don't know if it's, I'm usually very type B personality. Like don't really prepare for a bunch of shit. Like, don't really care about details or whatever. But with certain things, I guess with things that I really care about, I don't know, I get a little type A. I fucking went back to college to learn how to do this shit that I'm doing right now. I went back to college to learn about music, to help me with my DJing, but also in case I ever wanted to make my own music instead of just DJing other people's music, which, by the way, is still a goal of mine. And because I went back to college to learn it, I still have the ability to do it. Same thing with comedy. So I gave myself the goal to get on stage by the end of the year, but I knew I had to find some kind of way to attack it in my type A, pragmatic, logical kind of way. I was not just going to jump on stage at an open mic and riff. No, I wanted to learn. First of all, I wanted to write a joke. And I truly needed to learn how to write a joke. What's the science behind it? I'm sure there was. I'm sure there's a way to break shit down, and of course there is. So when I heard about this class, I thought, oh, maybe. It's a couple of $100. It's like about $500, and I was like, ugh. And I struggled a little bit there in the beginning because, you know, while I was training and while I was still new, I wasn't really getting the great shifts, so I couldn't really do it, and it didn't matter because in one of those moments or days where Rick came in for his, you know, cappuccino and a salad or something like that, we were talking, and I asked about his class, and he mentioned that he's fully booked for the rest of the year. And this was back, I asked him this back in August, maybe July. And he was fully booked for the entire year. He told me to send him an email so that he could let me know, and I'd be one of the first people to know for the first classes in 2024. And I was like, all right, cool. I was a little dejected though, because I thought, what better way to fulfill my goal to get on stage by the end of the year than this? And let me explain why. This class, this course, it's like a 6-week course. It's 5 weeks of a class, 3 hours every class. And then the 6th and final week, it's what's called the showcase. And it's basically graduation day. And the showcase is the 10 students in your class are going to put on a comedy show where they all go up on stage and do 5 minutes of comedy. The 5 minutes that they have been working on in the past 5 weeks of this course. Essentially, you're taking this course to learn how to come up with jokes, how to formulate jokes, how to do it in a you know, pragmatic, logical way. And it's almost like every week you should be able to get down 1 minute of a set, so that after 5 weeks you have 5 minutes. And then on the 6th week, you get up on a comedy cellar stage with that world famous Comedy Cellar backdrop. And you do your 5 minute set. And here's what's even crazier. It's all recorded. So you will have video of your 5 minute set at the Comedy Cellar. So you're guaranteed to get on stage and do a set by the end of the course. So I was really bummed out when I learned that he was fully booked for the entire year, because that would have just lined up perfectly. If I could get into one of those classes, then I will have like a mentor to guide me and help me craft the 5 minutes before the year's end. So once those classes were full, or once I learned that they were full, I was like, all right, I'm going to have to like teach myself. So I was looking at like buying or downloading Masterclass, because like Steve Martin has a Masterclass there, and Judd Apatow has a Masterclass there, and I'm still actually going to probably do that at some point. But still, it's, you know, it's about $150, and I was very close to doing it. I ended up buying this book that was very highly recommended through most websites and research that I did, as it was always one of like the top 3 books to buy in terms of just getting into comedy and learning how to start writing jokes and stuff. And so I started reading this book. I'm about halfway through, and I figured I'd finish the book by, end of October, spend all of November writing, and I'd spend November writing based on what I learned from the book in October, and I'd have a month in December to grow some balls and get on stage at some random open mic somewhere. There's a lot, especially around where I work. So that was my plan. But then, just this past Sunday, I was working at the cafe. I was opening. I was doing what's called a clopen, which means that I was there. I closed Saturday night and had to open Sunday morning. And that means I was on 2 hours sleep. Blech. Those are rough. Those are definitely rough. That made me want to do a shot of soju. So thank you, Chanel. Ooh, I could not have filled that up more to the rim without spilling a drop. Wow. It's like, it's one of those, you can't see it, but can I pick this up without spilling it? Oh my God. There's like soju above the rim. All right, I'm just gonna do it. Wow. All right, thank you, Chanel. This past Sunday, I had a clopen, so I was in there on 2 hours sleep, drinking some coffee. I like espressos now. I'm an espresso guy. Excuse me. And Rick walked in because he had a showcase that day, meaning his class, his most recent class is ending, and today was the day that his students were going to get on stage and do their 5 minutes. This is the second or third time that I've seen Rick before one of these showcases. He always comes in, gets a cappuccino or a coffee, and just goes over his notes because he acts as the host for the show. As it's a comedy show. He's putting on a comedy show with his students. Basically, is what's going on. The students invite their friends, their family, whatever, and you get about 60, 70 people in the crowd, and you do some comedy at the Comedy Cellar, recorded. And he's the host. So he'll come to the cafe to just, prepare a little bit. Or at least he intends to. Every time he's come to prepare for the show, he ends up just talking to me and whoever I'm working with about the students, about his class, about comedy, about just anything. I mean, I'm telling you, he's so willing to just talk about anything comedy. He genuinely seems like he wants to just pass on knowledge. The first lesson I was ever taught directly at the Comedy Cellar came from him. And it was, what the fuck are you talking about? And he said, every joke should start off as clear and concise as possible. Just get to the fucking point and let the listener know what the fuck you're talking about. Don't tell me, that you wanted to go on a vacation, so you got the family and you put them in the car and you started driving down the highway and you made your way to the corporate mouse. No. Just fucking say, I went to Disneyland. Done. What the fuck are you talking about? And I remember when he told me that, like, I felt like, this is what I need. Like, that makes sense. Now I have an idea already on how to even just start a joke through one conversation with this man while I made him a cappuccino. It took 5 minutes. And I already have a better understanding of comedy than I ever did. He's the one that told me that there's a difference between humor and comedy. Humor You can be talking to somebody and find them humorous because they'll tell you something that makes you smile and nod and you find it amusing. But comedy is taking that and exaggerating it somehow so that you induce laughter. That's the difference. You can meet someone that's funny in real life. That doesn't mean they're comedic. And I think that that's been my issue. I think I am a funny person, but I don't know how to be comedic. And every time I talk to this dude, I felt like, oh, I just learned one tiny thing about how to turn my humor into comedy. And I knew, I was like, man, I'm definitely gonna sign up for these classes in 2024 since this is all full. And we were talking this past Sunday, and he's like, well, the problem with like people that work here wanting to take the class is that your schedules are all over the place. And he has a set schedule for his classes, and he's right. I don't have a set schedule. It's really annoying when I want to hang out with my friends and I can't tell them if I can or cannot hang out until like a week prior. My schedule is not set. The only thing that is a given is that I have Sunday mornings to early afternoons off because there are only 2 bartenders that work those shifts every Sunday. And last Sunday, right before a showcase, Rick just randomly, casually dropped this bit of information. Because I brought up, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna want to sign up in 2024 because I know you book up really fast and you sold out for the rest of this year like months ago. He's like, yeah, I did. So yeah, he's like, yeah, if you want to do early 2024, just, send me an email and I'll send you, I'll let you know as soon as it becomes available. I'm about to release it, in the next week or two. So I'll let you know. And then he's like, funny thing is actually somebody just dropped out of my Sunday class. So I actually just have one opening. And I said, what time is the Sunday class? And Rick says, from noon to 3. And if I ever work on a Sunday, I come in at 5 for the cafe or 6 for the cellar. Meaning I'm never working before 5 o'clock on a Sunday. And suddenly, Rick has an opening for his Sunday class from noon to 3. I told him, that's actually the one class of yours I would probably be able to do. And he just kind of like, flippantly was like, well, if you're interested, just email me. He told me his email. And he's like, I'll give you any details you want to know. But I think that he hears a lot of people tell him that they're interested in his class that don't follow through. I followed through. I sent him an email. I said, hey, Rick, it's Will from the cafe. You mentioned that there was a spot open in your Sunday classes, and that's actually the one time slot that I have wide open. And he replied. And he said, hey, not only are you in, but he gave me a family discount. That's what he called it, family discount, since I work at the Olive Tree. And if I wanted the spot, it was mine. And I replied pretty much right away. Um, I right before I replied, I went downstairs to the basement. And I told Val exactly this. And when I told her how much it was going to cost, she thought I meant thousands of dollars. And I was like, no, hundreds. And she was like, whoa, you should do that immediately. Because she thought comedy classes from a professional at the Comedy Cellar, that's easily a couple of grand, right? When I told her how much it was going to cost me, she was like, did you say yes yet? And if not, why are you talking to me? Go reply right now. And to her credit, I did. I replied. I Venmoed him a down payment. And my first class is this Sunday. I have to come up with 1 minute of stand-up by this Sunday. So this week, I will, for the first time ever, come up with my first joke. And I will perform it in class this Sunday. I have 5 weeks. We're going to take a week off because of Thanksgiving. But I have 5 classes in the next 6 weeks. And then that's all leading to the showcase, the graduation day. And my goal of getting on stage before the end of the year is now set in stone. It's guaranteed. I know that my first time ever doing comedy, my first time on stage ever, is going to be December 10th at the Comedy Cellar. This is going back to what I said before about, like, I don't believe in much, but I do believe in maybe signs, something. I don't know, man. In May, I said that by the end of this year, I would get on stage and do 5 minutes. And when I said that out loud, I thought that I would be doing some 5 minutes that I learned how to come up with on YouTube and do it at some rundown bar with 12 people in the crowd if I was lucky. But instead, from the moment that I said that I wanted to get on stage and do this, from the moment that I said out loud that I wanted to try and be a comedian, within the month, I got a job at one of the most prestigious comedy clubs in the entire world. Within a couple of months, I landed a spot in one of the most solid comedy workshops in the nation. And now I've cemented my debut, essentially. And it's not going to be at some dive bar, which, by the way, no shot against that, because I'm going to be at those dive bars doing my 5 minutes. But my first 5 minutes ever, I have the privilege of doing my first 5 minutes ever at the Comedy Cellar. December 10th this year. I do not take that for granted. I do not take that lightly. I put out a goal for myself to get on stage before the year ends, and on December 10th, I'm going to do it at one of the sickest venues possible. And I'm going to do it under the tutelage, under the mentorship of one of the best teachers that you can learn comedy from while working at this very fucking place. I'm not nervous. I don't know if that's weird or like egotistical. I don't know. I'm not nervous, man. Like I'm fucking excited, and I'm just like so eager to learn the tools that I've wanted to learn to do what I've wanted to do. Like I'm just I feel like just let me at him. Just let me at him. I might get humbled in the 5 weeks. I might. It's not like I think this is gonna be mad hard. I don't think it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be easy. I think it's gonna be fucking hard. But I've always felt most fulfilled in life when I did the hardest things that I've ever wanted to do. I've done hard things in my life that I didn't want to do. But when I achieve difficult things that I actually like put on myself because I want to do this, not because someone's making me, because it's something I want, that's always when I felt best in my life. So, damn, I feel like I just have an opportunity here to just end this year on the highest of highs and just fucking finish strong, you know, like I don't I don't often feel this is just me being honest, being real. I don't often feel proud of myself. I've always been told that I'm the worst person at like taking or receiving compliments. I For someone that peacocks like a motherfucker like me and is as egotistical as I am, you would think that I would love compliments, but the truth is I'm not really good at taking them. I deflect, I degrade myself, you know, it's whatever. So pride in myself and stuff I've done, it's few and far between. It's a little bit of a rarity for me, but I think what excites me is that I feel like I have an opportunity here to end 2023 feeling kind of proud of myself. I don't want to count my eggs before they hatch, but I'm feeling pretty good right now. And I'm excited. December 10th. It's a Sunday. I'm not sure if I'm. I know Val's gonna be there. She definitely. Obviously, she wants to go. I had I swear, before I got into this class, I had envisioned my first ever 5 minute open mic being me by myself going to like some bar or club and going up on stage and getting off, and that's it, without anyone I know in the audience. That's the way that I wanted to do it, truthfully. My girl Val might have been pissed, but I truly had the intentions of like coming home someday and being like, hey, by the way, I got on stage today. I didn't want anyone there. It was more, I wanted a genuine reaction and feedback. I didn't want people cheering for me just because they knew me, laughing just because they're my friend. And for that reason, I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna invite. I don't think I'm gonna invite anyone to this. I don't know if that's gonna upset anybody or what, but um, I don't want to feel like I did good just because I had my friends there. You know, I want to earn this moment. So I don't know. I'm sure I'll have. Well, we'll see if anyone listens to this anymore. I might have some people reach out and be like, "No, I want to be there," and I don't know. We'll talk. Because, like I said, you can invite friends and family. I just don't know if I want it. Maybe come to like my second one. I don't know. We'll see. There's time. But regardless, my journey in comedy is on. It's officially on. I'm already. This week I have to write 1 minute of stand-up comedy, and on Sunday I have to, perform it for my professor and my classmates. And 2 months from now, I'll debut. Oh, man. I'm excited. Not that nervous, but maybe the nerves will come. Maybe they'll come. We'll see. The cool thing is that I'm here every week to kind of document this journey, dude. This podcast is literally about to become documentation of a comedian starting from the very fucking beginning. I'm going to take you guys through me putting together my first 5 minutes and me actually putting it on stage, man. From the perspective of someone learning how to do it at the Comedy Cellar while working there. Hopefully you guys will be around to listen to that, and maybe in the future even be around to support that. Whew. That's all I've got, man. This is it's been a bit of a week for me, man. A busy week, but like that was the biggest news for me, and for me it's big news, man. For me it's by the way, I'm not crying. That's the goddamn nasal spray still in effect. It's big news for me, man. I'm gonna tell stupid fart jokes. Nah. It's the fucking Afrin. But it's good. I just already feel good about the fact that I gave myself a goal, and it's already about to happen. Like I basically guarantee that it will. I'm not gonna chicken out. I'm not gonna quit this class. I'm finishing this class. I'm getting on stage, and it'll be recorded for the world to see. You best believe I'll put that out there for you guys to see. God, I have to come up with a minute. What's my first joke ever gonna be? I don't know. I've thought about something with my dad. He's pretty funny, huh? Oh, man. If anyone's listening to this out there, you have any ideas for what you think my first joke should be, hit me up. Let me know. Besides that, I need you to do something else for me. Be sure to rate and review my show on Apple Podcasts. Follow me at I'm Will Bryant on all platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I was about to say Twitch, but it's X, Threads, Spotify, all that shit. At 3 words. I'm Will Bryant. Like Kobe. This has been Big Kid with Will Bryant. The show that takes you on a comedian's journey to his first set ever. I'm your comedian. I'm your host. I'm Will Bryant. And until next time, peace.